All right, let's be honest for a second. Take a look around your life. Do you see it? A graveyard of half-finished projects? You know, the guitar in the corner collecting dust, that website you started coding, that fleeting obsession with learning jujitsu that lasted, what, a month? If that sounds familiar, you probably know that specific sting of shame. That feeling like you just can't pick a lane and stick with it.
And I'm willing to bet there's a specific phrase that pops into your head when you're feeling that way. You've probably used it against yourself a million times. We're taught to hear this as an insult, right? As proof that we lack focus, that we just don't have the grit.
But what if I told you that's not the whole quote? Not even close. What if the very phrase you've been using as a weapon against yourself is actually hiding the key to your greatest strength?
There it is, the whole thing. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. This was never an insult. It's a compliment. It's a statement about the power of adaptability.
So let's just tear this whole myth apart, shall we? We're going to explore why that scattered feeling you have isn't a flaw. It's actually a feature. It's your brain getting you ready for a future where being a one-trick pony is a massive risk.
See, to really get why your way of thinking is so valuable, we have to understand the world we're actually living in, which is not the world our parents told us to prepare for. The fundamental rules of the game have changed.
For most of the last century, success was like a game of golf. It was a kind environment. The rules were stable, the path was clear. You just had to pick one club, your specialty, dig a deep, narrow hole of expertise, practice for 10,000 hours, and you'd win. But we're not playing golf anymore. We live in a wicked environment now, where the rules can change in the middle of your backswing.
And this is the absolute key. In a chaotic, unpredictable world, the hyper-specialist is incredibly fragile. They're like a glass cannon. If their industry disappears or their one skill gets automated, poof, they're obsolete. And deep down, your brain knows this. That's why it's been pushing you to jump around, gathering skills from all over the map.
So what you've been calling chaotic dabbling is actually your brain building a rare and powerful cognitive skill. There's a name for it in psychology, far transfer. And this, right here, is your secret weapon.
So, what is it? Well, the specialist is great at what's called near transfer. They solve a problem they've seen before with a tool they already know. But you're a master of far transfer. You can take an idea from one universe and apply it to a totally different one. You connect dots that nobody else even sees are on the same page.
Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine a web developer who used to be a beekeeper. Sounds totally unrelated, right? Wrong. Because of that experience, she has this deep, intuitive grasp of how complex organic systems work. So when she looks at code, she doesn't just see lines and functions, she sees an ecosystem. She knows how to cultivate it, how to manage its growth. That's not something you learn at a coding bootcamp. That is the magic of far transfer. So let's reframe this once and for all. You feel like an imposter because you're measuring yourself with the wrong ruler. You're not the deepest expert in any one thing. But your unique value doesn't come from the depth of a single well. It comes from your ability to build pipelines between all the wells. It's in the synthesis. Okay, knowing your curiosity is a superpower is a huge relief. But let's be real, it doesn't solve that crushing feeling of burnout, of being spread too thin. For that, we need a new blueprint for ourselves, a new mental model. It's called the M-shaped mind.
We used to talk about being T-shaped, a broad base of general knowledge with one deep pillar of specialty. But that model is outdated for people like us. You're M-shaped. You have multiple pillars of depth, 2, 3, maybe more areas where you have real skill, all connected at the top by that bridge of relentless curiosity.
But here's the trap, and listen closely, because this is the most important part. You cannot build all the pillars of your M at the same time. If you try to learn data science, write a novel, and launch a podcast all in the same year, you are going to collapse. So how do you do it without burning out? You need a strategy. The secret is a concept called serial mastery. It's about thinking of your life in seasons. Each season, you dedicate yourself to building one pillar. You're not abandoning your other interests, not at all. You're just putting them in the passenger seat for a while so you can focus on the driving. Think about how this could look over a lifetime. Maybe your 20s or your music and art season. You go deep. Then, in your 30s, you have a programming season to build some financial stability. You didn't fail at art. You just completed that season. Then, maybe in your 40s, you enter a synthesis season where you suddenly realize you can combine art and code to design a video game. It all comes together.
There's this fantastic story of a 53-year-old guy whose main pillar, the one that paid the bills, was programming. But he was ruthless about protecting his time and energy for his other pillars: music, philosophy, game design. He actually turned down promotions because it would mean working more than 30 hours a week. He protected his psychic energy, and eventually, all those separate passions started weaving together on their own terms.
Okay, there's one last piece to this puzzle, and it's the thing that makes your M-shaped mind truly bulletproof. It comes straight out of evolutionary biology, and it explains everything about why you're wired this way.
The concept is redundancy. Now, in our hyper-efficient world, redundancy sounds wasteful. It sounds bad. But in nature, redundancy is the key to survival. It is 100% a feature, not a bug. It's all about having backups so you can adapt to whatever life throws at you. Get this, elephants almost never get cancer. Why? They have massive genetic redundancy. Tons of extra copies of a key cancer-fighting gene. If one copy fails, another one kicks in. Now, think about you. Your random collection of skills? That is your redundancy. If AI makes a specialist's job obsolete, they're in trouble. But you also know marketing, and you can build furniture, and you're weirdly good at organizing events. You're an elephant. You're unbreakable.
So let's just put this to bed right now. All those years you thought you were dabbling and wasting time, you weren't. You were engaging in strategic adaptability. Every rabbit hole you went down was you weaving another thread into your personal safety net. So that graveyard of hobbies we talked about at the beginning, it was never a graveyard. It was a campus, your own personal university. And every failed project wasn't a failure, it was just a completed course. You were never meant to be just one thing. You were built to be the bridge. It is time to stop apologizing for your curiosity. Stop seeing your path as chaotic and start seeing it as strategic. The world is finally catching up to the way your brain has been working all along. So the only real question left is, how are you going to embrace your M-shaped future?